I'm here with Kojo Appiah, who's the founder of KATA Solar. Kojo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So we're here at the Corporate Council on Africa's Business Forum, and we're about to see the Power Africa Luncheon. We'll hear about the first year or so of Power Africa's implementation, and we wanted to take this opportunity to catch up with an energy entrepreneur who's working on solar issues. What are some of the big challenges that you're facing? What are you trying to do?
Well, first off, what I'm trying to do is to scale up solar PV adoption in Africa, starting off in Ghana. The idea is to look at a niche market, which is the commercial, service, and industrial sectors. We're also potentially looking at utility scale, because we have some partnership, to develop, large-scale solar farms. So that is what I'm trying to do. It's a startup. The challenge that most startups face in Africa, and especially in this sector, is financing. Solar, as you know, even in the US and elsewhere, is just now really picking up momentum. So as an asset class, as an investment, it's quite challenging, and especially in Africa, it is unproven. So that, I would say, is the biggest challenge. Right. After that would be policy. Getting certain markets, African governments in particular, to put in the right policies to help grow the sector. So those two, I would say, are the most challenging issues.
So in the United States, we've heard obviously a lot about Power Africa. It's perhaps President Obama's signature initiative for relations with Africa. Do you, as an entrepreneur working on energy, view that as a useful tool? Are you excited about Power Africa? What else needs to happen to make it more useful to you?
Okay, so I think Power Africa is great. It's an excellent initiative. I guess it's set up in the context of the primacy of energy to Africa's social and economic development. So I think Power Africa is doing a great job. It will help actually bring in the private sector to boost energy, particularly renewables, but essentially energy access. It is doing the right thing because it's bringing in factors, it's bringing in players, actors that otherwise might sit on the sidelines, or it might take them a much longer time to get into the business. So from that perspective, I think Power Africa is a wonderful, wonderful initiative. I think the focus has been on off-grid and creating access. And that is essential, it's critical. Most of Africa needs access to electricity. But I think it could also be expanded a little bit to look at sectors like commercial and industrial sectors. For example, in a place like Ghana, the grid is very extensive, relatively extensive. 72% of the population has access to the grid. The challenge is that there's not enough generation, and the electricity that is generated is not very reliable. Rampant blackouts, load shedding, whatever you may call it. So in those cases too, apart from just enabling access to the grid, we could also help with the generation side and try to take some of these big users off the grid, so more reliable power could also be provided to the broader population. So I think Power Africa is excellent. I wish that it would also have some focus or emphasis on the commercial and industrial sectors too, because those guys are leaders, and if they take up solar, if the adoption picks up there, then certainly it provides more momentum to grow solar.
Great. And, as you think about this U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit as a whole, what are you looking for? What are you hoping will come out of this summit? What would make it a success?
I think, in my opinion, it will be a question of how many actual deals or I guess deals are inked, or just MOUs, commitments that are made in terms of bringing in the private sector in particular to do power projects in Africa. So I think if that can be achieved, on a scale, relative to, for example, Africa's generation capacity, let's say, a significant percentage of that is enabled, in terms of deals or MOUs that are inked, I think that would be a fantastic success.
Great. Yeah. Well, Kojo, thanks for joining us, and have a great summit.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.